Global Peace Index, and a clue of how Nigeria as a country leaders, what, and I always say this, what we need in Nigeria is a new ideology, a leader that will bet what Accord as a party has presented to who privately has demonstrated the belief, looking at what we've been doing in the past 15 years, 2020, we engaged in a process because we understood prisons, for example, have thousands of people who have been without no justification. I led an NGO called the Foundation, and it supports 200 prisoners and get them freed from the prison. Believe that Nigerians deserve life. Nigerians do not just need as people. We need leaders who believe and who have demonstrated civility. That is the question that I often ask myself. How can a nation with 100 live not in poverty, who live below poverty, actually have? How can a nation with 70% of the youth job have a justification for human rights? How can a nation with over 20 million be educated out of school have a justification for human rights? How can a nation be in prison because we have a judiciary system that's independent have? How then can a nation whose security apparatus have been jeopardized who have a justification for human rights? We must, as a nation, who respect the life of every Nigerian, who by its private effort have demonstrated who present to us a manifesto, yet will not manifest what is in the manifesto. Private discovered that out of all present candidates we have so much focused on education. I've built 3 universities at 39. I've supported over 500 Nigerians, 500 outside politics. I've done that privately without interference of government. To know their rights. I believe that Nigerians need to be educated to be able to defend their rights. But if the people do not understand what is the paper, believe me, nothing will happen. We need to invest to educate and ensure that Nigeria begin to live, not only to exist. That is what we will do. Perpetrators of rights violations are hardly or never held accountable or brought problem besetting the judicial institution. Besides their trust and confidence in the court and general apathy towards the Nigeria as civil remedy in law are rarely enforced. The justice system and judicial system generally perceived as dysfunctional. Security personnel and corporations involved and violation of rights to justice, institutional corruption, lack of independence, interference, and so many have led Nigeria to where we are today. One of my very first executive order is to ensure that all are digitalized. I'm a digital professor, and in Nigeria is that we still run an analog economy in the 21st system that can be interfered by politicians. Once we need to have a system, class Nigerians, believe me, Nigerians will never have a ensure that we run a system that is proof of corruption. Once we begin is once we begin to digitalize every processes we run in the 3 tiers to state to local government, believe me, we'll have a system that has know the outcome of every of the activities. As a nation, ensuring that we have young and fresh leaders who believe in the Nigerian entity, and will continue to demonstrate that. As a person, the system, like I said, that provided educational scholarship to thousands of Nigerians, to provide educational rights and quality to all Nigerians. We cannot have above out of school. We cannot have a nation that Nigeria have baked. I believe so much that education is not certificate, but it's in Nigerians. Once Nigerians are transformed, once the mind of Nigerians are transformed, they right. Education, creating a system, engaging persons with factor, engaging teams. Our team will be coming in teams of that civility, competence to work as leaders for all our rights, which all human beings have by virtue: right to life, right to dignity, right of liberty, fair hearing, freedom of thought and conscience, have rights of dignity. Our mothers have been molested at early age. We don't have rights to live as proper human beings. Statistics 123, 123rd, that is a nation to begin to have a nation that will move us. We present to Nigeria the right leadership. We have demonstrated this personally without asking for any reward. We believe by the time we run the affairs of Nigeria as the youngest presidential candidate, as to move our country to the next level is now a generation. Leadership, leader that is at the decline of his career, but to one who is at, we are at our climax of our career. Nigeria needs aggressive revival in all facets, both from the freedom of our people, revival, education revival. This will lead to the human rights standard that we actually appreciate. And I believe that by the time we start to answer and give us more light to help us go to the information. God bless you.
Thank you. And a very big one to the presidential candidate of the party. We'll be inviting is the presidential candidate of AA Mustafa. It's 3:58 now.
Thank you so much. And then on the day protocols, I will hit the board stage. First of all, it is an opportunity to gather here the Global Human Rights Day and for have had the initiative of inviting the presidential candidates at this election and in life of the country. I will hit the point right away. Furthermore, bringing forward the state of a country or a community, the most important thing at this point in time is, at least from the year 2020 where Nigerian human rights condition is all about. When you talk about human rights and you look at the provisions of the law, and what you believe are issues that are of concern to your environment. Where the standards, the primary thing that comes here is reforms are required rather than rehabilitating Nigeria. Most of whom are there illegally, particularly awaited, and non-Nigerians, men and women, they are staying longer. So we in Action Alliance have already looked at the problems in Nigeria, who was heavily persecuted for 15 years with torture. I survived. With my experiences, we have now brought it together and prison will become a productive from in terms of education and productivity into our economy and issue of police in itself. From 1981 to date, separate the primary responsibilities of our police. The responsibilities of police goes to the police. Investigation is centrally, so police will have reorientation because we believe police will continue to have human rights abuses. Touch on the ministerial offices, the office of the Minister of Justice, just for this obvious. We shall encourage the judiciary to come up with reforms to make, meaning supporting the judicial criminal investigation trials today in trial for inmates. We shall be working closely with domestic and international CSOs deliberately on Human Rights Commission that organize this in itself because they have a lot of problems from their budget to what are simple themselves. Reforms that will make them effective is already incorporated into our own manifesto, and that the national public in itself shall be having a forum to sit with the executive arm of the government intermittently. Public rally is no rally, but it's an audience with the executive arm, and then all arms of government are in touch. Then the issue of separating our prisoners seem to be in the different prison, and those who are within trial shall also be there. The orientation will be given uppermost because in the justice dispensation, the unseen hands are enormous, perceived enemies are brought forward from certain. And we have seen numerous people with wrong identity in our prisons from across Nigeria. Military and other military, paramilitary bodies in Nigeria shall be into the primary roles of the police deliberately so that the less they please, we shall record. But primarily, I would also not end up, but without looking at of some of the experiences we have garnered lately. The issue, those that are domesticated in terms of occurrence shall be re-examined. And it is in that perspective, the judiciary, including the Bar Association, shall have the laudable arrangements we have are lofty and lengthy if one to go deep into it. I deliberately want to say, in terms of human rights in Nigeria, if you want to succeed in achieving them, resources, we in Action Alliance spend quite investigating means and manners of generating resources so that areas we know we are lacking will be heavily funded and that blessing. So with it, we believe it will touch the society. And part of our reform is to, because today unemployment board, if you sit down and take the statistics, trials in prison are just there, finding themselves to the fore, and many of them getting prosecuted or persecuted as it is. And I don't want to go into what is already established and known. As a package will bring reforms to Nigeria, and Nigeria will join the international of promoting, supporting, and upholding the charters that we have United Nations, to African Charter, and to our own, and to the problems facing. In Action Alliance, we stand with the modern time. We want Nigeria to the fore. We join in celebrating the day as a party and without and outside Nigeria, believing that such form of human rights will be the torch, ensuring that the dignity of man and women all across Nigeria will carry Nigeria into a new position and a status that will uplift us within the Committee of Nations. Thank you for the opportunity.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to invite to the podium the presidential candidate for African, Stephen Children.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. For you today, not to belabor of human rights from an academic standpoint. I'm standing before Sure, and I am the presidential candidate of the African Action Congress. Nigerian of marriage, 51 years, that if you live long enough, those egregious violators of human rights in your country. But that our country has been an open prison for the rights. Our country continues to violate the rights of our people, even as we speak today. So, and very sad as a living proof of which is today. I do not have an international passport to travel beyond the borders of Nigeria. Nigeria decided to violate my right to liberty, freedom of movement. I do not have dignity as a human person because until a few weeks ago, the Nigerian government restricted me. I've been in Abuja for 3 years, restricted from moving out of the city. As of ago, the Nigerian government is actively, and I mean it, killing a citizen in the southeastern part of Nigeria, ensuring that they do not have the right to free themselves from a country that has not been working for them. And instead of engaging in dialogue, we have been engaging in violence. As ago, women and children are being violated across the country by both. As of a few weeks ago, I had no telephones in this country because my telephones, therefore violating my right against compulsory acquisition of property. Even when the law court gave in weeks ago, they refused to return those to me. Now that takes us to the rule of law. What is killing Nigeria is that we have a regime that have no respect for the laws of Nigeria. Even when they claim that the military imposed constitution initially to citizens, And they also said that if these rights are violated, we can approach the Federal High Court here in Abuja or elsewhere to remedy the situation. The government of Nigeria, including the Attorney General, who should have been here today, does not judgments and rules. So when you have a country like that, you have set yourself for a fund. But our political party are not just looking at rights from the physical rights alone. We are more interested in those by Nigeria known as economic, social, and cultural rights. And what it says is that to decent living, to have access to jobs, you must have rights to clean water, sanitation. But the interesting thing about these rights for Nigeria is that they are not enforceable. Your plethora of rights that you cannot enforce. And when you approach our courts, we to respect the rights, even when you have won clearly in their own courts against set out to ensure that these rights are going to become enforceable when we come to power in 2020. The economic and cultural rights. Because without this right, you are nobody. In fact, it is the violation of this right on our leaders look down on us. Because when they look at you and you don't have a job, you're not a human being. When you don't live, you're not a human being. When you cannot go to school, you are not a human being by virtue of being in Nigeria. When you can't find a job as a result of ASU strikes and several other strikes from thunder and human beings, you're not a human being. When you don't have all this done on you and violate even more rights that might be left, if there's any rights left in the country at all. Saying that going forward and for us, it's not just to mount these rights, it's to ensure that rights that must not be violated by anybody. And I'm proposing, and this is very fundamental to us, that the us in 1999 has not been able to address our rights effectively because they were not created by the Nigerian people. That you live in a country where you can't choose your constitution, you can't choose what is in it, you cannot approve that constitution. Then when you go ahead and swear to your right based on a constitution that does not belong to you or you have nothing to do with, it is a nullity. A constitution should be amended. Well, you all know that the person who used to be an expert in the amendment of our constitution is right now in London, accused of violating some. This is what Nigeria has become. And we have said that we need a revolutionary way forward for our country that will not just mount so heavy, so important, so valuable that nobody can violate them and get away with them. And the laws and the rights that you have violated will catch up with you anytime you are comfortable wherever you may be. Because so many of these rights that we have, as a result, there is no time limit to when violators of rights will be. I don't want to give too much more time to discussing rights because to elect a president who understands human rights, go for the guy whose rights have been completely. That's your best presidential candidate in 2023. And Omoyele Sowore is left, except my voice. And I will need to stand with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Omon. I would like to call upon the presidential candidate for the Action Democratic Party, with their band.
appreciating the National United Nations for organizing such an important engagement. For organizing which will usher in, I believe, towards having the most important election of the when you talk about Africa, Nigeria matters. But when you talk about gold, is at the bottom of how we exercise that. Where laws are not obeyed, only personalities are obeyed, and all you have is arbitrariness. And arbitrariness cannot give us the kind of is required to run a 21st century economy like what we have in Nigeria. Issue of rule of law. My party, African Democratic Party, we have as our mantra. Because when you have rule of law, everybody is equal as Declaration of Human Rights by the United Nations. As such, we share in the belief that every person and law should apply freely and fairly. People should have access to the law, and you cannot be punished in accordance with the law. And you are found guilty before you are dead. We have in this country. And it's just because our elections kept in line with orderly, in line with as a record. That is why I want to also appreciate the Electoral Commission, that is INEC, and National Assembly 2022, which has established legal framework and for us to be able to get it right in 2023. What Nigerians to be sufficiently mobilized to understand that is your only power that you can use to correct the addiction. Our government, we will ensure that there is power, meaning that the 3 tiers of government, we will also ensure that the courts and they are fair in their judgment. What are ingredients of good governance? And that is what we are lacking in our plan. That is why we find, and that's why you find people who have been found wanting. Our government will ensure that Nigeria assumes a great nation because we have all the tests. Our government, we are going to address one issue, which is that of poverty. Poverty is not something that should to choose, freedom to associate, freedom to do anything, free from poverty. If you are not free from poverty, there's no way you can act. So our government, we are going to effectively engage this economy. Engagement with the financial community, especially on transition, climate change, information technology. These are the you have an organized environment, and you have government that respects the rule of law, and mobilize your people. We may not be able to take our rightful place in things as a promise of greatness. We all know that this country is blessed. If you look at our GDP, which we shouldn't experience, it is because the rule of law is not that the National Assembly could have checked the excesses in the executive, or could have been able to give the recourse that is the right of every is a situation, like I said, arbitrary. We are going to attack not only the issue of advancement, but also the issue of ignorance. Meaning, freedom of every child's education is properly, party, where our symbol as the book, because we believe in education, we believe to educate our people sufficiently. If we don't allow people the answer to go on strike and children are out of school, then we would have fulfilled and met the minimum requirements of the human rights, minimum requirement, which is education. So we are going to fight poverty, and we are going to use the rule of law to achieve all that. So I believe the right to work for you, use the law, understand the needs of every individual to education, not to be taken for granted, is our party, which is ADB, and that is the presidential candidate, which is put through the deliberation, and I believe under our administration, Nigeria will of leadership, which we are supposed to. Thank you very much for doing that.
Thank you very much. We've had the opportunity of listening to 4 candidates from Accord, from AA, from APC, and from AD. Bring it to the audience. Just a brief summary. What I think here is the interconnectivity between Chapter 2 of, and that speaks to a particular school of thought, that we cannot guarantee for without looking at the day-to-day experience of Nigeria. That Chapter 2 of the Constitution. That's where we talk of education, we're talking about water. So what is the right to life or dignity? What is the right to life or dignity of person without I'd like to open it up to, please make your questions short and simple. Questions would go to the presidential candidates that have presented. There's 1, 2 here from this row. I have 2. We'll start from there. 3. I'll move if I can. Please introduce yourself and then your question. Very short.
Thank you very much. I work for National Human Rights Commission. I think when it was about the issue of guaranteeing economic, social, and cultural rights, his party has a good way to guarantee for what he said concerning the violation of the human rights. But how does he intend to ensure that social and cultural rights of Nigerians are enforceable
one. And finally, I also want him to tell us what are his strategies of these rights: education, healthcare, accessible, affordable, and available to Nigerians.
Thank you. Number two.
Thank you. Mark, you want to finish first?
Thank you. My name is Dr. Gordon. I'm the chair protection specialist. And expectedly, my question will relate to the rights of children. 10 million children who are out of school. If you go to one part of the country, you see a lot of children roaming the streets, whether they are marginally or all that. My question is, given the fact when we were young that we are leaders of tomorrow, even as those people who told us that they are leaders of tomorrow, still aspiring, what are you going to do if elected to have out of school children in Nigeria? Because it's only when you get those children opportunity to lead basic rights, freedom, and of course, justice for all. Thank you.
Yes, if you wanted me to. Yes. So, but try and in terms of implementation and enforcement, and I've spoken directly to the Constitution. What is contradictory about their 1999 chapter 2 that says you have all these rights, and then since that's an oxymoron. What we are saying is that I live in a doesn't show up in school twice, that is in 2 days only. There's also an enforcement of whatever you do be on a bubble, I mean on a sufficiently convinced that the city did not do its job. You can also enforce that right. Okay. So you can also enforce that right and suing the city that was in making sure that that crater that we have on our highway injured your life. So the enforcement of the law, otherwise we are asking people to take laws into your constitution is an illegitimate document. Secondly, it contradicts itself. Even the fact that Nigeria is a signatory to a number of covenants, they do in enforcing laws. First and foremost, you must have the rule of law. In a country where officials court orders, these things are a waste of time. On both for those of us who not only will ensure that the rule of law prevails, right, a lesson in the future, because we must teach them that are killed, send somebody to jail, prosecuted, one day pay for their crime in this country. I believe in that because that will, some of them that some of you candidates go have this to endorse you for political election. On the second one about there's no solution to it other than investing free education to kids. I am a beneficiary of education in Nigeria. Now, Nigeria, your universal basic corruption. And at any rate, I no longer believe in basic education. Slate and chalk is in the past. Because why? My kids during COVID, while your leaders were stealing palliatives during the last COVID. We saw them in the warehouse. So that you vote for leaders whose ideas are very clear, who have the leaders with vision. And when I'm talking about vision, I'm not talking about the classes. I'm talking about the clarity of your talks. That is what is vision. Thank you very much.
And once again, I'd like to restate the rules for this town hall. It's a partnership between the National Human Rights Commission and the system. Organizers restate their independence and non-participation. As a strictly non-political event, the town hall will be a platform in Africa's largest democracy. Therefore, candidates will not be addressing each other and will not make responses to stick to their individual points and thoughts, and should to other candidates and the viewing audience in terms of their. In view of that, I would open it up for the other debate presentation to give responses to the questions by Dr. Godwin. I'll start with the presidential candidate for Accord.
Thank you. Again, by Mumale. I think the second question is very passionate to add up. One of the things that we have been focusing, looking at how privately we can provide, and I would not just stand on this, what I will be doing. I will tell Nigerians what I am doing. 200 scholarship centers across Nigeria privately to provide scholarships. You can verify checking. I've been doing that quietly because I believe that education is one of the tools that would engage and begin to build the country. You know, when you made mention that we will become the future of tomorrow, when the current president was the head of state, today I'm contesting as a. What does that tell us to Nigerians? We are told that we are the future. We are still being competed in our future. For a state like Zamfara, because of insecurity, we must begin to build academic that shut down education continues. That can only happen when you digitalize the process, so I understand how this works. I understand that Ghana as a country, dollars for Nigerians that migrate to Ghana to study. I've worked as a black man and graduation center at International College in the UK. I understand application. I've advised the Nigerian government on this, but it matters that we begin to have leaders who have states like Sokoto, only one student register for WAEC. What does that country? These are going to be people that will build our country. These are going to be people that will. We must begin to have leaders who understand deeply and who understand to build Nigeria. Now, we should be arguing Nigerians who should be thinking about going to space. We should be talking about robotics, artificial intelligence, and exporting human India and other countries. We need leaders who are valuing budgeting 20% of our national budget to education. Today, benchmark for education, we must begin to have people have value. So investment is key. Ensure that we run a system. Invest not just in formal education, the informal sector. That is the only way out to have our children back to school and enforce. We have to enforce for parents who don't send their child to school. Sometimes when we go to the rural community, we have traditional rulers in this country who don't believe in education, who believes that don't enforce education. Even the law for children, it's for national good. Once we begin to do that, then we have
I'd like to call on the presidential to respond to this question on out of school children. The question is not what do we want to do? Thank you.
Thank you so much. I understood the guide you gave to all of us concerning the expectation in terms of how to relate to each other. And I understood this on record. Most persecuted presidential candidate is the one we should vote for. And it is on record. I stayed longer and I have my mouth. I thank you so much. This topic is very vital. First of all, anything we say or do, so creating the funds for it, wealth within Nigeria and outside, but you find it difficult to get that executed. We in Action Alliance plans on our own education, and we believe that will answer the census goes by local government, then it is 109. First of all, there will be a that will answer for the own forces for the next 20 years. So that is mining from gas and the new avenues we to be creating out of oil deliberately. The issue of we believe from the package we have will never raise itself. Of skill acquisition centers, 109, one in every territorial. Deliberately to answer for the unemployed today. For the wealth we shall be created, and special banks will be created. It does not matter your qualification, but we believe in today's world it is. So we'll absorb the unemployed, have a certificate from there that will be the guarantee for you to go to these special banks that will be empowered from hundreds of billions of dollars from what we have already. The opportunity Nigeria will be things facing the life. So with these acquisitions, with the certificates we have from the acquisition center, and you begin to pay 10 years up, it will be totally realistic in the field. It is not right away, but the special area is empowerment and direction for us. Also discovered most of the children on our own, we took this pain to be interested in. Most of these children are children of retirees. Mostly they are because the children, the parents cannot fund them. So the fishermen and retirees to get them reabsorbed into. And the constitution we are talking about is indeed faulty in many respects. The traditional institutions are weak because they are not captured from our own examination or the exercise we conducted. And roles of women. Section 28 is faulty in the Constitution. It's numerous bills that will come to before to get this Constitution to say to the very of our society will have that sense of courage so that everybody or every citizen, if traditional rulers, for example, are now given this responsibility, is taken in their own kingdoms, then the state governments will follow of what we have and the problems, because in the exercise we took in our forms without the knowledge of traditional institutions. So to us, this is the way to do it, and the wealth creation, and we already have the avenue. Second is the constitution amendment, looking at the social ills of the society. Action Alliance has the separate, and I thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I'd like to call on the party to respond. Thank you.
Well, like but it's not what you have under your feet that matters, but what you have in. It's to that extent that ADP made to be a book because we believe in education. Educate your people. As a matter of fact, if you want to attack a nation system and also attack its agricultural system, that's why our economy is diving. Our education system is being attacked in a manner that you never believe it will happen to us in this country. So we give first priority to the issue of education. We will make sure I'm almost free in the sense that we make all productive education by ensuring that certain percentage, like we have to be tax, but issue of corruption is the being of the corruption in a manner that it will either to the various minimum. How do we do it? We will make are made to be productive, to be because if you have your regulatory agencies, I'm talking about rule of law, if your regulatory agencies sector driven, they will definitely become productive. They are supposed to be productive centers. Are supposed to work out and then police and monitor policy. The interface between the people and the government is the regulatory agency. So that no child will be left out as far as education is concerned. And there's economic progress of the nation, and we have to find money to invest. How do you get this money? As blessed, we all know. Not only are we number 6 in crude oil and gas. In fact, we are number 3 or 4 when we talk about transition bridge, which is gas. Nigeria is a gas country. So we will have no for us to have enough money to invest in education. Yes, Nigeria is big. We are more than Nigeria on the continent of Africa that is so blessed. So what is between us and And when you provide leadership, not only are you not going to grow the education sector, the health sector, and other sectors of the economy, believe you will experience boost. And that is why I believe it has come for Nigerians to now wise up. We can't be doing the same thing the same way and expect different results. I'm talking about voting us woefully. There's nobody can tell us. We'll be killed, we are becoming more and more improper. We are becoming a laughing stock. So what I'm saying, education is number one as far as we are concerned. And generate the funds, to invest in that sector and other sectors of the economy. Thank you. Thank you very much. Just we're going to start the second stage of debate now. Like I said, the town hall is not a political debate. With each other, I will not make responses of the reporters. Candidates are advised to their I should endeavor to be civil and respectful to other candidates and being audience and On that note, I now be inviting the candidate of Grand Alliance, Peter Lala Chukwudi Madu. You have 4 minutes.
My name is Peter Umadi. I'm the presidential candidate of Alliance. The Peter Umadi Manifesto, the philosophy of all progressive Grand Alliance Agro progress. The fulcrum of social progress is care for men, women, children, persons with disability. The Human Rights UDHR was adopted by the United Nations in 1948, and Article 25 thereof takes food, water, sanitation, clothing, housing, and medical care, as well as social protection, control such as disability, widowhood, and old age. As I stand here, Julius Nyerere in 1976, which from Nnamdi Azikiwe Stadium, Enugu, saying that the African child will go to bed hungry. That could be described as human rights denied. In fact, it has spread from children to parents and aged members. It is our collective duty to enforce that human rights as envisaged by the United Nations. On the 7th of December 2022, I got my passport, a US visa. To get my documentation, I went to a secretarial. Services were rendered. While I was there, a young man entered, technology word to the young woman who ran the shop. The young man did not have a shop or an address. All he could do was her tablet. Both of them understood what they were talking about, and patronage was imminent. You could tell ability of the young man, he was going to sell his knowledge for less than what it was. This is a glimpse of the informal economy in Nigeria, other countries in Africa, with over 55% of our labor force showing about 65% of the gross domestic product. Majority are not in illicit activities, which include hired labor, cooperative and social and solidarity economic units. Employment and underemployment rate of more than 55%, which come with non-defined workplace, unsafe and unhealthy working conditions, productivity, low or irregular income, long working hours, markets, finance, and technology. TO.org website made for them to acquire skills and move into secure employment. Here again, the pivotal issue of electricity for the benefit of the larger society and implementation of the same Article 25 of UDHR echoes thus enlarging the concept of human security. Intrinsic in every to life and property. Property leads to eradication of poverty and inequalities. Hence, right to property give the owner at law. Reasonable force will be used to defend property. The force required to protect property could be escalated. And that open grazing should be abolished. That should maintain the rights and other peaceable use of land in order to eliminate hunger and poverty and enhance prosperity. First, think that the Child Rights Act should be implemented across Nigeria. Is the block on which every nation is built. Where there is the child, we recognize that the vulnerability go in that order. The incidence of underage found all over Nigeria, both in the north and in the south, should stop. No, any parents whose child is found in the streets will be held accountable. Years of age should be in school. We should work towards the attainment of sustainable development. The rallying cry is that no one will be left behind. There is need to decentralize security. Multi-level policing is now. Fundamental reforms will be considered and anchored on the triple banner, which are rule of law, separation of powers, and due process. Productively interrelated, we should entrench separation of powers to energy and policy issues have to be decentralized. I consider it a in the International Rights Day today in Nigeria, which began since 19 at time the National Human Rights Commission and the United Nations to the event. A new dawn for our country, Nigeria, is around after presidency. Thank you for listening.
And inviting the presidential candidate of the new Every council is well represented. Action.
Outstanding national human rights. For inviting my principal, the president, Engineer Dr. Adewole, to PhD. You consider it very apt to include issues of security and education we are discussing today. You cannot talk of any meaningful development. Nigeria with more than 200 million, have more than 20 million children out of school. And you know, Mr. Education, based on his antecedents in Kano, that has sent a lot of thousands of people and within Nigerian university. So education is a priority for us in Yemen. Expand existing schools, employ more teachers, retrain them. The educational sector. And are going to consider issues of security, because when you lot of security challenges, like what we are seeing today, in terms of human rights violations, a lot of thousands of people for several years, and we are talking of education during schools. We are going to look at the issue of security seriously. Nation Agenda 2030 for sustainable development. Increase the strength of the armed forces to 1 million. And the police force to 1 million. We are going to dominate all Sambisa Forest, Rilingwari, and other places with at least men there. And our commander-in-chief will be able to command in the front line. We are going to create those of government spaces, turn them into agricultural areas, agro-allied sector to take place. All of us know how rich of agriculture. These two things are by Boko Haram, the Napas, and also people that do not mean well for our country. So, education and security is a priority. And we are going to make wallet free. Yeah. To partial. Going to get it. That has been done in Kano and is succeeded. So we are going to take it at national level. Free education at all levels. And the JAM result will be used to expire until after 4 years. So that will save the body of every year passing through the method. So that is about the issue of education. We have a lot of resources that keep all this. The resources All you need to do to block all the leakage, build up, go into something mineral, block issue of conflict. And we all know that even in our hundreds of billions, 1%, that can do the whole town. And taking away from the government company. So the policy of NNPP is to leakages, increase our tax revenue, and that every responsible adequate tax. So that we will have a lot of revenue to solve our problems. Looking at the issue of which is part of what we are discussing today, we are going to separate the office of the Attorney General and the Ministry. Those responsibilities should be separated. And carry out a and they will abide by the rule of law, which is a fundamental principle. I don't know how court orders have been obeyed. NNPP government will ensure that they all court orders. And the issue of ground, which is also has caused a lot of problems. People go to the Federal Bank of Nigeria, collect money, NNPP government going to stamp it out. And how one exchange rate. On gender equity for women, our party, or every woman that wants to go for public, including the youth. So we have already started practicing gender equity. And everybody has equal opportunity. Everything in NNPP and that whoever you know before you get anything. Very speaking of that thing. And we are going to all the constitutional to prevent fraud, corruption. These are areas that in Nigeria. Once we can do all this, we have a lot of resources very well. And we supervise and send out, set up organizations that will be monitoring on how the government resources are being used. Not when the money disappears, you don't even get the feedback on how that money is spent. For all the projects that go down the line. And for sexual abuse on environment, I think it's a responsibility of human rights commission to other continue to, because most of these things encourage you to continue to investigate and investigate before report their investigation and ensure that the culprits are punished. Vulnerable groups like women, children, youth, and people with disability have their responsibility for them and review existing policy that will be favorable. And NNPP will protect girl child. Funds will be provided to rehabilitate people that have problems. Our spotlight will be to eliminate And our policy reforms on the police. Police are part of Nigeria citizens. We know that there are a lot of things happening in the police force that are not favorable to the community. This was comforting. To avoid the temptation of increase their salaries and constantly review it in line with inflation. We'll carry out.
The time is up now. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We'll be calling the next presidential candidate, Social Democratic Party. Adebayo, Adewole. I have 10 minutes. Time starts now.
Your Excellencies, leaders of the human rights community, when we are called to interrogate human rights, there are many ways to do it. Do this because one of the first things you will learn is that to be a lawyer to understand human rights. And the campaigners for against gender violence, Orange, I know that you have a partner in the SDP. But all of our parties are continuously engaged in that kind of symbolism. Human rights is to know that human rights, like any other agenda, is a continuous engagement and requires leadership. And there are many ways to look at it. That is what rights do you recognize. A human being who is alone in the serenity, or who are his rights intrinsic to him. The Bushmen, because society developed, they have those rights, or our rights in relation to precepts. So basically, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in various constitutions, in various countries, come by way of, that's why you have declarations. The second part is the technical part. Human rights has some complexity because it has to do with jurisprudence, it has to do with law. Human rights research, that is law. When I was United Nations, after the war, we had to interrogate human rights and observance under a war situation. What to do when you are reconstructing. When I was graduate at IFE, and we were being taught human rights, being trained in human rights, and all the precepts of it. But even in that environment, so much respect for our human rights. Lecturers can abuse you all the time. This is true. The human rights thing, we just validate for knowing. That brings the top component of it. The human rights as a country. The human rights as a country. If you remember when in our folklore, the king of Fana was killed. A cultural revulsion. That's why there was no Nigerian constitution. But people, why was this innocent king of Fana? And everybody walked against the king. So in our culture, even people, modern democracy, there are certain consensus that you get in the culture. To achieve more consensus on issues, even if some of the issues will come from a community where I come from, can say to you that in the great days of when a king will die, minimum of 200 people will bury him. But now it's not right. And it's not because of the Human Rights Commission. The missionaries came to the community and started working with the community. And started negotiating. Has to come by which you call your kings, not very people. Where leadership comes from. The way we look at human rights, and I've been exposed to it from this style learning jurisprudence. We're exposed to human rights like we're exposed to other programs. Human rights enforcement is not a program. It should become the culture. And I've lived in countries in which human rights are respected. It is not a government thing. It is that generally, the level of civilization where you respect the rights of people generally. Regime where the Supreme Court justice still lets his worker. But if he's sitting there and wearing the robe, he will still be enforcing chapter. So I think what leadership should do, as Social Democratic Party, what we want to do ourselves and bring a new crop of leadership that recognizes the for three reasons. One, they are essential for power relations. That you are basically a human being, and the highest achievement is to be a respected human being. And that political power will change from time to time. And there have been people why their rights were violated. But when you look at it, when their rights were violated, that when they were in authority, because of power relations, they are the one they faced. And there are people who have seen whose rights were violated when they were citizens. They didn't remember that at the time their rights were violated, they form and violated other people. And I suppose that we can now lay the first part is that we should commit ourselves that the minimum engagement in political management is democracy. Because if you don't have democracy as a minimum, other system that can sustainably respect your rights. If a person took power by force or took power by trick, right. Second, that as a society, we should develop it as a culture, not as a government program. Respect human rights. And I'll give a short historical analysis. This was created in Nigeria based on the resolution 1424 of 19 monitoring institution in this country. That's how we have it. But if you do where people's rights not respected, maybe political rights were constrained, but if you want to enforce your right to be given to you. Prior to that time, so I believe that the political system we are building now must be one founded that as a culture, we must respect the rights of people. The top of we must do facilitation. And that is why Chapter 2 of the Constitution has a level of dignity we must give to people. And to do that, to give them that dignity, and the government is most equipped to do that investment. And that's the Democratic Party. Why we're even called Social Democratic Party is that we believe in nutrition, in the basic housing and habitat, in education, in affordable infrastructure. We raise civilization to a point where there is less society. However advanced they claim, when they are under tension, every country, when they go to war, they will violate human. There's no country in which I have lived, whether in the USA whether in Europe, whether violation is not a continual dialogue. So it's not an African thing alone. It is for us to organize a society to recognize that human rights is a basic infrastructure for reaching other rights. On our part, what we are going to do is to enhance institutions, the court system, and like the government itself, and overall, to see that institutional to educate the people so that we can respect human rights. Thank you very much.
Thank you for taking your time. The floor for questions to the second round of. So, yes, pick number 1 there. 3 there. Number 4 and number 5. Please just ask one question so that we can. Okay. I hope you have something to write. Thank you.
Okay. My name is Samir Daniel. I'm a member of the Governing Council of the National Nigeria produces oil and gas in noted worldwide. But that comparative in Italy of human rights abuses is flagrantly played in the country of men, women, and children. Unfortunately, we have an action plan on business in the entire continent of Africa. Out of 50 countries, Kenya and another country has on human rights on business. I just want to ask, how do you speak to this that can protect right and business? Because the companies that come here to do business, they violate laws and will. How
That is number 3. That's the number 2. Yeah.
My name is Ibrahim Hassan from National Human Rights Commission. My question goes to the NPP. Based on what you spoke, you said you want to make JAM result to be used for many years. I have about 1.6 million Nigerians wrote JAM in 2022. Well, has the capacity to admit less than 50% of the students. And some universities has different cut of marks. Some are 180, 140, among others. So what are the strategies when students pass JAM this year and next year another set of students? What are the plans for the increasing? And second, more based on the movement of scholarship, we know economically it has impact on the public. We're going to sing foreign scholarship when Concorsia won the election, all the will be patronized. Thank you.
Number 3.
Thank you. Almost all the need to sufficiently fund the national human rights is one of the government agencies that is independent, has the mandate to deal with human rights issues beyond Nigerians across the 36 states of the Federation. Establishing the National Human Rights Commission has a provision for the human rights fund to be populated by both government and non-governmental in Nigeria. Can you please on your strategies to actualize or operationalize whether it is possible to create a link or a hand security board and funding of human rights in Nigeria? Thank you.
Thank you. Number 4.
Okay. My reporter from and my question is being directed to the candidates of the NNPP. I am still going to focus on the education that free education will be given to all, starting from the nursery, secondary to tertiary education. Because looking at our budget, the 2023 national budget, 65% of the revenue debt. So how are you going to make this possible? And again, a lot of graduates, I mean millions of graduates, but they roam about the street without jobs. So thank you.
Back.
My name is Inesefen Samuel Engineer, country legal representative. I heard one of the presidential aspirants delivered just a comment. Yes, sorry, one of the candidates. I want to direct the question more specifically to the candidates. What is their plan for issues that has to do with by persons, by states, actors, and non-state actors, to the International Convention for all persons of what are the plans in that direction?
So to this first 5 questions, the presidential candidates answer the questions relating to them. And so I'll be calling the presidential candidate of all progressive alliance. And I'm reminded that thank you. Yes.
Thank you very much. Question about business plan and business for oil and gas. From a part of the which deals on environmental impact assessment. I'm not sure, for one at a time, I will say that we will act immediate and commensurate reparations for any complicity in degrading the will pursue methods that guarantee cleanup and restoration of answer to that question. Then about the I'm lasting for 4 years. It is talking about, what results it has. Will be fashioned out. What I think, what we think in education, and education thrives on continuous assessment. And I think and then if I go to number 3, well, you need to form and suggestion of security votes. Votes. I think that every funding that comes out of the coffers of accounted, and that's where I'll leave that. Free education, how possible? What I 18 years, we should find funds to keep our children in school for tuition. And then when you talk about how you are going to, we have proposed what we call the German method, having the two skills acquisition to the middle. People get skills and branch of school and get white collar jobs to continue to the end. Will now employ themselves and have a plan to. Number 5. Issues of interference of state actors.
Candidate of New Nigerian Party.
Thank you for all the questions. And oil and gas and protection of human rights. And even in review the existing laws, the NNPP government will ensure that these laws are obeyed. Letting those guys, are just interested in the revenue and the national government. You'll be able to regulate what they are doing. You know what they are doing? And because that's why people are telling us making but there will be a law and people that will monitor what is going on. And they talk about absence of law. Well, I will address that. NLPP and JAM being free and less than 50. Yes, JAM will remain free. And even when we are 50%, we are going to expand the existing structures in the university and they employ and we train them. Well, no, we are not building new university. We expand the existing. Put in more students in various faculties. And when you do that, then who want to enter our tertiary institution? Our National Population Commission is also giving us data on population increase, and we married it with the Ministry of Education to know how to put up facilities. It's not rocket science, it's a matter of having people who know what they can be dedicated on that. And that's a lot of questions.
Thank you very much, sir. We will have more time. We have to give everybody more time. Thank you very much, sir. For Social Democratic Party, please come and respond.
Short, I will not be funding the Human Rights Commission. There's no time for Now, for oil and gas, stop talking about the oil company that is doing it. Because there are JV contracts, sharing. So the government of Nigeria, the leaders want to make money. So in our time, that way. Clearly. On the multi-year, that's our time. Because it's a violation of human rights. So ask students to that doesn't exist. It's your job to make sure that the space so that the rest of education is create enough space to apply for a job that only has 300. That's human rights abuse. Asking 10 million senators to come and apply for 1 month. The issue of free education and debt. You see, the very well, 80% of your food oil is not being stolen, your gas is not being stolen, are not stealing. Because the Federation is not taking 109 billion. You said, you're not giving 16 trillion waiver to have enough money in your budget to fund education. No problem with that. Disappearance. It's a problem in Nigeria between the government. The government are talking. It was saying the Boko Haram or anybody. So our government will not do that. It will disappear. On the other hand, there are other people doing it, hoodlums, bandits. US has the highest number, for example. And the oldest case of missing person missing for 1996. So countries generally have that problem. But gangsters use it, even political opponents use it sometimes when election is coming. And those who are using human beings to exchange money, those who are sponsoring. So it's the law enforcement, but the law enforcement must come from government having the same funding the human rights commission. Basically, funding attitude issue. But if you want to fund human rights commission, we fund without charge revenue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now that we've done the first round of this thinking, there is a common area of interest we would like everybody in the area of women interested to know. I will compare with the bread more on that. Thank you.
Noticed in the responses across the candidates that response on issues relating to women, but there were on the two. So we're giving each candidate 2 minutes on issues of participation of women within your government. 2 would be the protective framework that would be issues of violations against women and so we'll start with start from bottom up. So we'll start with the thank you, 2 minutes.
Intervention of women. Now that the deputy director of the has got some ideas. When I see generally dealing with women, these 2 minutes, there are 2 windows to look at the issue of women. For you to have, as a country, for us to have in every facet of our life, because women are averagely women, you are trying to start with only one. It's not going to sound well. We must open every person to women. There should be no go area. first thing we need to do. And we do that in social political aspect, in the economic aspect. Areas in which women are disadvantaged. Because some instances, to say everybody is equal, coming is okay for women. In some instances, to say everybody is equal, coming is not okay. Because, for example, in economic participation, if you say everybody is equal, you need to make special regime for women because historically, not because they didn't have talent, our culture has managed to keep them away from access to power. And access to power includes access to economic, social, and political power. So in those places, we do special intervention to ensure that we give access to women. But on the final note, politics is natural home of women, provided you remove two elements that work against women. Violence. Women are not good with violence. No woman can say, go and kill somebody, very rare, because I want to come to office. So you must remove violence. Secondly, you must remove the power of money. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We'll now be inviting the candidate of the Aqua Party. We're going through the back. So we'll write NNPP then. The candidate of NNP. NNPP. Already ready Yes, Nigeria People's Party. 2 minutes.
Thank you. You ask questions about how many are we going, new women we are going to absorb in politics. The Nigeria People's Party has a lot of sympathy for women. When we are sending our forms, we get 50% rebate for women who are willing to play active part to vie for political offices, including the youths. Because we know that financially they are not in power like men. And when we get into power, like special grace of God, we are going to accommodate substantial part of women in various positions of governance. But it has to be based on merit. That is what equity demands. Again, reviewing existing policies on women, especially on health issues, we are going to do that, existing policies, so that we have health policies that will be favorable for women, so as to improve their well-being. There will be free antenatal care for all the women. And we are going to protect also their child from abuses. And all women will have free medical care, irrespective of whatever part of Nigeria. That is the agenda of NLP. And it's achievable, but we have the resources. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We'll now be inviting the candidate of All Progressives and Alliance. 2 minutes.
Thank you. Women constitute about half of the population of Nigeria. And that means we have a lot of resources from them to have to develop our country. And of course, we have the 35% set by the national gender policy. That's the minimum. We're going to start with that. And then we're going to ensure total inclusivity in all government. And then we'll rejig the Women Affairs, Ministry of Women Affairs, to tap those precious resources and leadership skills possessed by women. I've taken that as a practical example myself. When I joined politics from the judiciary, the first person I called were women. And they were surprised. They
asking me, is it only us? Are women coming? I mean, are men coming? Is it only women? They were surprised to see that it was only women that come. Like I said, they don't get into violence. They don't read elections. They are committed. They are the first to come. They have done a lot for our political dispensation that they need to be rewarded. So I think that everything we can do to get, like I said yesterday, I'm ready. If the best man for the job is a woman, I will pick the woman. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for keeping the time. Maybe now invite the presidential candidate of Action Democratic Party. I'd like to finally speak about it. You have 2 minutes. Well, our mothers, I'm sure, as a country, we are not doing what we are expected of. When we know that only 5% of women are in the National Assembly, it's about to get worse. Because when you look at the array of people that we are fielding, I think it's only 1% that we have as a woman. And you look at other positions, women, for one reason or the other, are not decided. In my party, our party, Action Democratic Party, I have, in the structure of my party, I have 2 deputies. One deputy national chairman South, deputy national chairman North. All of them are women. And again, when we're selling forms, women are free. Free. We give them forms free. Not only do we do that, make it state. Apart from giving the women the ticket free, we also sent about 6 vehicles to go and assist her in her campaign. So we take women very, very important in the scheme of things. Why? Because, like the saying goes, you educate a woman, they say you educate a whole nation, really. So, as far as we are concerned, women, like we all know, especially when you go to rural areas, women, they really occupy the chunk of the economic activities that we have in rural areas. And internationally, our women, believe me, are doing us proud. You look at UN, we have Amina there, who is a deputy secretary general. You look at the World Trade Organization, where we're going to there. And those are the ones that we know. So we treasure women because we know they are people that when you listen to them, you hardly get it wrong. Thank you, sir. So, thank you, sir. Okay, satisfied. Thank you very much. Can we invite the presidential candidate of African Action Congress, Omoyele Showa? 2 minutes.
I just want us to understand that what has been driving our policy in Nigeria towards women is completely discrimination. And the best way to discriminate against women is to create a ministry referred to as Ministry of Women Affairs. And there are no ministries in Nigeria known as Ministry of Men Affairs. I will abolish that and create a ministry for gender and equality so that women can be central to the discussion around equality. Secondly, we should not be treating women from the point of percentages and statistics. And if you are going to do that, let women take their right percentage in our political life. If you have 51% of your voters in an election, then the women in the country should get to and to represent the woman candidate and win the election for Nigeria and teach Nigerians a lesson about equality. And I'm saying this very seriously because sometimes when we're talking about women, we celebrate any little symbolic achievement of women as something that is big thing. It's like we give them, oh, we have a woman who is doing very well. But we don't say that to men. But women are the people who are likely to wake up first and go to bed last. Even in political rallies, they are the ones who come, they are the ones who wear the political symbols, and they are likely to be the ones who clean up after the men have done their job in the country. The percentages of women in the country is more than 50%. Give them that right, but I don't want men to be treated in percentage. But in regards to our party, we have to apologize first and foremost. We are also guilty of this. But most importantly, we have promised that when we come into office, we get the percentages of women in office as it is the percentages of women in the country and voters. And I want to say to Nigerian women, stop also complaining about percentages. I was so appalled when women were celebrating 35% of position in political office in the country. You are 51%. Go for 60%. And like I said, teach our men a lesson. Don't make them keep making you look as if you are weak. We are not the weaker sex. Men in this country are the weakest because they destroyed our country.
Thank you, Colonel. We'll now be inviting the presidential candidates of AA, Ladi Hamza and Mustafa. Two minutes.
Thank you so much. So I go straight to the point. We in Action Alliance have special package for women, but I start this way. Women in Nigeria look at politics from the point of view of motherhood. They are always deceived when election comes. No sooner they vote, they don't go into power, they have to go until another 4 years. So here we have the following. First, every interpunch is an international day set aside to celebrate women. In Nigeria, we will keep that day to educate and to sensitize the role of women, the importance of women in our culture as it is in international scene. Gender equality, of course, well captured. The 35%, as far as African countries are concerned, is encouraged to look at the percentage deliberately because you must have a start point. And we encourage women to understand that the 35% is a start point as far as Nigeria is concerned from the Action Alliance point of view. We also realize that they are weak when it comes to politics, from empowerment to education. So we have designed that we shall have in every zone an political institution that will support, prepare women and send them into the political arena so that they have the maximum gains and participation in the country. There is an arrangement we are having also that is for free medical care for pregnant women. We also adopt and accept in our manifesto the United Nations campaign that they call the 8 points for women at the international scene. Single mother and child protection, we designed a security code from first at the national level and one in every state down to world level. So all violations women are experiencing, we have incorporated them into the digital arrangements on security codes and rescue into them of war. Human violations are recorded in every community. But here, national emergency response also will now dovetail into medical support. Gynecologists will go into our 8,809 wards in Nigeria. First, it's self-creating employment, which shall also be sensitizing and protecting the women. And finally, I have 5 more points, but time I'm not going to say. Let women realize that AA is your house. Feel free, we are with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would I invite the producer candidate of the Accord Party? Thank you, Professor Imumaya. Thank you.
Okay, for women, I'm from a sector that cannot survive except you have 60% education of women. I'm from the educational background. And you know clearly that you cannot run a school except you have nothing less than 60% of women. But naturally, women nurture. Naturally, women have a tendency to have longer longevity at work as compared to men. So naturally, I have worked with women and I also have come to realize the importance in building everything. So that will be translated in our governance. And also, as a little boy who lost his mother, my mother became a leader at 39. And she saw us through, so I knew what it means from the basic family structure to have women work, women supported, and women encouraged. We set up an NGO in 2019. You know, every time I want to talk about what I'm doing, not just what we will do, that empowered women in Nigeria, 6,000 women. in Nigeria with grants personally, between 200,000 to 1 million. I did that personally, 2019, and that got my name in the World Book of Greatness in the UK. You can check it, you'll see it there. These are values we bring on board. I'm not just a president that will tell you what we do, we will tell you what we have been doing. And I see governance as an opportunity to do more. If you have done 1 million, you can do 100 million when you come into politics. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We have now come to the end of this. I want to use this opportunity to thank all the presidential candidates who have honored this invitation. You have made history today. This is the very first time human rights is an issue for discussion in Nigerian election. And that's a sign of better times to come ahead. So I want to thank you for coming. We would like to pose with you for a group photograph. Please, the presidential candidates. I'm reminded that there's one more person who should come and talk to us for about 2 minutes. Please, I think you're indulgence. I invite Dr. White, the doctor, please to come.
Your Excellencies, dear presidential candidates, ladies and gentlemen, and members of also the press. Indeed, as the ES just said, this is a historic moment. A historic moment where you have an opportunity to share with the public what you intend to do in relation to the promotion and protection of human rights. So the two words that I have for you is not only for those who are seated in this room, but it's for those who are aspiring to be president that are not even in this place. It's for those who are aspiring to be anything, taking political positions that are not even in this room. It's for those who will be taking that position even in years and years to come. It is easy to win the hearts and mind of the people. Just do the right thing. No one can live forever. Whatever step you take, ask, will I like this if I'm on the other side? For God's sake, God loves this nation. We are endowed with resources, human and material and natural resources. Can we work together to make Nigeria the pride of Africa? Can we work together to make Nigeria the pride of the whole world? Because we can. And it's simple, very simple, basic things. Basic things about education, about health, about water, about food, about respecting the dignity of person. Why must we torture people? Why must we detain arbitrarily? Why must we do the wrong things? And I think that we can all do this together. There's no nation that doesn't have a problem. But the key thing is that we must hold our hands together and move forward. Thank you for coming. Nigerians will be watching. And I make sure that in all your little spaces, let this election be free and fair and speak the voice of the people. God bless you. Thank you very much. We are getting to the end of the town hall engagement. On behalf of the National Human Rights Commission, I'd like to thank all the presidential candidates that have made our time to be here this evening. I'd also like to thank our partners, the UN systems in Nigeria, the Ford Foundation, Partners West Africa, Nigeria, AIT, and other media organizations here present. I'd also like to invite the presidential candidates to the podium for the group photograph. I'd like to thank the representative of the Attorney General of the Federation, the representative of the Minister of Women Affairs, and other MDAs represented here this evening. May I also invite my colleagues, other members of the Government Council, to the podium for the group photograph. And finally, thank the members of staff, management and staff of the National Human Rights Commission for taking out time to be here. Thank you very much and God bless you all.
Hello.
The unofficial photographers are blocking the official photographers. Please, can you either spot or you can? Okay? Sorry about that. Spot or leave. Spot. Spot or leave, please.
Secretary, Federal Ministry of Women Affairs, sir, please join us. Thank you. My apologies. Representative of the Attorney General, the UN representative, can we come to the
photographer with their hands. Okay.
I'm official.
Blocking the camera.
You're blocking our official.
can we form 2 rows, one below, one? Yeah.
So can we have 1 row now? Yeah. Okay. Are you guys okay?
Sorry.
Hello. Excuse me, please. Hello.
Okay, are you done? I give you time. Yellow. Okay, sheep.
Late lunch will be served at the restaurant. And next steps for the NHRC post this town hall is that the National Human Rights Commission will be analyzing the manifestos of the political parties on how compliance with human rights standards. The findings will be shared with each political party and be monitored subsequently for compliance. Thank you very much.
Hello,
Sorry about that. What kind of I Are you official or
That's the problem. It's not the problem. Running away from food is not the problem.
Please, lunch is served in the restaurant. Your right to food should be guaranteed before you go home. Okay? Thank you.
Please. Okay, so make a show you join. They mean the woman and their white person. Okay, this person now tell you.
Thank you. Wonderful job.